Tulsi Gabbard says she referred intelligence officials to the DOJ over leaks. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard says she's referred two intelligence community professionals to the DOJ over leaks from the Justice Department. She told Fox News Digital on Wednesday that she's planning to refer a third shortly. I look forward to working with the DOJ and the FBI to investigate, terminate, and prosecute these criminals. I love it.
Right to jail.
Kristi Noem said something similar about individuals. They have leakers, and they're going to be investigating and going after these individuals. The Defense Department has come under fire after Pete Hegseth and other top Trump officials engaged in a single group chat. Blah, blah, blah. We get it. Gabbard said those who leak classified information will be found and held accountable to the fullest extent of the law. This is amazing because with the people like that guy, the branch chief from the DOD that James O'Keefe has just exposed, criminally charging them for the crimes they committed. I'm not saying going after whistleblowers. I'm saying if somebody is leaking classified information, you criminally charge them and then let all the other weird woke cultists in the deep state know. You will go to jail all the same for leaking information.
That's an important part. It's not just about getting the dude that did the actual, leak the information or whatever. It's about making it clear to other people that might decide, oh, I'm going to take on Trump and I'm going to resist, thinking that it's, 2017 or 2018. This is a different administration. And this administration will prosecute you if you break the law. We will put you in jail. And the evidence is they're prosecuting people and putting them in jail, or at the very least, they're finding those people and firing them at the minimum. But I would like to see prison time.
We were talking before in the green room.
That's all I'm waiting for.
Yeah, that's where we were like, yeah. Where's Kash Patel? Where are these? Why are these people so quiet?
And 3 months.
I think that they're in there rooting out the leakers right now. There's a lot of turnover and remoculous.
Remember Dan Bongino tweeted about this maybe a month ago. He said, "Look, I know there are people that are saying, hey, where's the results? Where's the results? Remember, just because you're not seeing it on the internet doesn't mean it's not happening. We're working behind the scenes."
Small room with a steel table and a low lamp, and Dan Bongino's leaning in, talking to Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, Pete Hegseth, and he slides a piece of paper, pictures on it, and he says, "These are the guys we're going after." It's going to take time. They got to investigate. It's been only a few months. So people are expecting scenarios like that where, I assure you it's probably very mundane. Kash is going to walk into the office and Dan's going to be there and be like, "Oh, can you take a look at this form?" He's going to look and it's like, "Oh, okay. So this guy was leaking to the press." It's like, "Okay, that's really bad. All right, let's go over this." It's probably very mundane and they're probably working. There's a lot of paperwork. But also, if you really do think there's a deep state, Kash and Dan aren't going to come out and just here's a list of names of people we're going after. We've built a case in 3 months. We walked in the door. We had all the evidence. We were done. Nah. I think they're working on. I talked with Gorka about this. We're putting that interview up tomorrow. But he was basically like, Kash was a victim of this, and Dan has dedicated himself to weeding out this corruption. It will happen. And I asked him, I was like, "You're basically warning the deep state right now. We are coming for you." It's like, they know. Of course they know. Mm-hmm. So I give them all the benefit of the doubt that I can muster up. They've got 4 years to do something, but I really do expect something to happen within this year.
I could see them for 2 years. All they're really, the FBI, that's the FBI's job, is to weed out internal corruption, more or less, solve internal crimes and things. 2 years of this. And I'm concerned a little bit about the Trump administration's, their whole purview and what they're going to be able to accomplish. Because then the rest of the time they're just worried about, it's like they're trying to put out fires. They're trying to fix problems, bloated governance, mass illegal immigration, which is if you let them in illegally, how are we supposed to get them out legally? You let them in illegally. So Trump's toying with we're not going to even have trials for these people.
Did you know that they don't get trials to begin with?
Illegal immigrants, do they have to, what I thought they was immigration courts? No?
Immigration court is for people who have visas and came here legally and then are facing an end of their visa or a violation of the terms of their immigration. People who come here illegally, like crossing through the border, get what's called expedited removal. They don't even get a hearing. They are taken. Is determined by ICE. That is the normal legal process. So Donald Trump said, "Why would we give them trials? We don't have time for that." And the media is twisting it and trying to create the impression among the American people that trials are a normal thing that happens for all illegal immigrants, which has never been the case. The only people who get the Supreme Court has argued specific hearings for those under the Alien Enemies Act, because those people are going to a prison and not simply being deported. Trump still has full authority to deport anybody under expedited removal processes, which is If ICE determines that you're an illegal immigrant, bye. That's it.
Man, if they hadn't all been let in illegally, I would be I'd be much more obsessed with doing a legal extradition, whatever you want to call it.
Illegal extradition?
No, legally getting them out through some legal process. I know, I mean, technically it is, but like one guy to go, they're a terrorist organization. Now trust me. Now get out of the country.
That's why they get hearings. And the Trump admin has actually been dropping charges against some of these individuals because they can now. It's easier to deport them if they don't do that.
It's not. It's the terrorist organization part is secondary. If they're illegal immigrants, get them out. Right, like put as much pressure on them as you can from as many different ways as you can for either to pick them up, but the government can pick them up, or get them to leave. Go after the people that are hiring them, so that way they can't work. Put a couple businesses out of business because they hired too many illegals, and that'll fix your problem with hiring illegals real quick. But it's got to happen that way because there aren't enough. If there has to be a hearing for every single illegal that comes that we wanted to deport, or that the administration wants to deport, then you're not ever going to deport enough people. You don't have enough courts. It'll take forever.
And I don't want kangaroo courts.
That's why they're doing it. That's why they're doing it. And so the Trump administration, Donald Trump didn't say, I am ending the standard practice of trials for illegal immigrants. He said, we don't do this. We've never done this. Why would we do it now? And the New York Times falsely framed it and manipulated the context. And they've got Democrats coming out saying Trump is trying to take criminal trials away from people, as if he's talking about Americans now, because they're scumbag liars. And this is all they do. They lie all day. And if you call them a liar because they're lying, they call you conservative or right wing. You're very far right, Ian.
Apparently, I'm so far right, I'm far left. Let's dance in the middle somewhere.
Left and right these days are, it's true and false. Left is false, right is true. That's it.
Like, are you good or evil? Are you lawful or chaotic? That's what I want to know.
I think the modern day conservative is like a 90s Democrat.
I understand what you're saying, but I colloquially, I don't agree. There are a lot of modern conservatives who are 90s Democrats, but Ben Shapiro certainly is not. Steven Crowder certainly is not. Those guys have some of the biggest platforms in conservative media, and they are staunch conservatives. I think the narrative of the 90s Democrat is largely because of Trump. But if you were to look at the right, the quote unquote right, and try and figure out what brings them together, how is Jimmy Dore far right? I'm not kidding. They call the leftists call him alt right and far right. Mm-hmm. The dude's a literal socialist. He advocates for socialist policy. He's right wing because he believes in the truth. Because he'll tell you like Trump never did that. And then they go, oh, you're defending Trump. And he's like, no, I'm telling you the truth. And they're like, that's right wing.
You know, if you look out into the universe, it's a sphere. We're inside of a sphere. They call it, you can see the cosmic microwave background on this sphere. Everywhere you look, it's the universe. And it's like these people are in a universe of right wing. And they're this liberal bubble inside this right. So everywhere they look, if it's not in their little bubble, it's right wing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It basically became the woke left, and then everybody else on that other side is conservative.
It is
conservative.
But you know what I think? The woke left is very small, but their sphere, they have control over a lot of people.
Right. They've got the megaphone.
And the people that are on the left are terrified to speak up because they're scared of being not left. They're so desperate to call themselves left wing and so scared of being called right wing. It truly is the epitome of cowardice to fear being called right wing.
The brand right wing has now been so tarnished. There are people that associate that with, just say, if you're right wing, then you must be a fascist. And people associate the term fascist with Nazis. They're all equivalent in a lot of people's heads. And they're not the same at all. Mm-hmm. But that's the way, specifically center kind of center or center left people, that's the way they perceive it. That's why when the far left or the left, call people Nazis and blah blah blah, everyone's terrified of being called those things. I mean, it's just a name like any other insult.
But I do think it's waning.
I do too. I agree. But
yeah, more and more, it's like I don't know what that means.
Anything.
Yeah, but like your race is like, oh, I don't know what that means. Like when they started calling Jewish people Nazis, I was like, I'm confused now. And I'm not talking about Zionists, the Jewish people. I'm talking about literally like they started calling conservative Jewish people in the United States Nazis, and I'm just like, I don't know where you're at. I don't know what you think. You're a cult.
It's certainly maddening when they people are found to put swastikas on other people's cars, and they're like, "You're a Nazi," and then they put a swastika on the car. Like, yo, bro, if you put the swastika on the guy's car, you're the Nazi. Like, you're the one that's.
Well, the point I was making is
using force and threat, whatever the imagery is, and then calling someone else a pejorative. Like, that's
the point I was making before is if they really thought you were a Nazi for having a Tesla and they spray painted the swastika on your car, I'm imagining like the Nazi walking out of his house being like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And they're like, "I'm spraying a swastika on your car." And the Nazi goes, "Oh, thank you."
I didn't have the balls to do it.
all right.
No, thank you. I was going to get to it, but later. But I appreciate you doing it for me.
It's like,
So,
well, we'll do it better because that one looks like crap.
Yeah.
but Carl Benjamin made a great point when I tweeted this. He said the implication in everything they do is that they know you are not a Nazi, and they are doing that to make you angry because you are not. They are basically saying, "Fall in line, or we will other you."
Man, this
And the like Zoomers nowadays, they don't care. They do not. They're not afraid of the word racist. They're not afraid of being called Nazi. They do not care at all. The power of those words is totally depleted when it comes to the younger generations. They don't care at all.
I think Trump just stopped the war with Iran too. Like, the Nazis weren't really into stopping wars. They were really about winning them all, and taking as much land as they could.
Nazis were definitely that's a part of fascism is being fairly militaristic.
This, like, okay, so the reality we're in right now, the United States has been hijacked for 100 years by the global banking order, essentially, 1913, Federal Reserve, and then mass illegal immigration. We're in a place where, like, the law, paperwork isn't going to solve this problem. Unless you want to say gold's worth $60,000 an ounce, which you guys mentioned last night. Like,
So what do you think? Do you think Trump should just wartime powers, emergencies, mass deportation, get him out?
it's unprecedented, man. It's never happened before. This is a new thing because Abe Lincoln, very limited in scope. And there was a different planet back then.
Wait,
20 million illegal immigrants.
What are you talking about?
Abe Lincoln suspending habeas corpus was
That wasn't the only thing he did. He did a lot more
and
than
he was
that.
also literally in a physical war, overseeing a physical war at the time locally.
No.
Which, well, he was leading the North in the Civil War.
Before the Abraham Lincoln was actually inaugurated, 7 states seceded from the Union. And then Union troops were in Fort Sumter in South Carolina, and they said, Union troops evacuate, and the Union refused. So he came in, and under his leadership, a war began.
He started the war. He wasn't gonna, he attacked them because they were trying to leave.
No. They attacked the Union. The Union troops
was like,
were in Fort Sumter claiming it is their federal base, and South Carolina said it's our territory and leave. So the South, actually, I don't think we know who fired the first
right.
shots.
It's kind of like, I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. Like, that's what the North was doing.
My point is, Abraham Lincoln wasn't facing bullets flying in chaos until he decided, like, it takes 2 to tango. And I don't think it's fair to say the Union or the South necessarily started the conflict. I know some people are going to have their perspectives. My point is that the actions he took were not based upon bullets flying until he took actions which resulted in bullets flying. So you could say that refusing to leave Fort Sumter initiated conflict, or because we don't know who actually fired the first shot. Then you had the Battle of Bull Run. The point is that dude did a lot of stuff, and basically everything he did was unprecedented and unconstitutional.
With Trump with his wartime power thing, it's. I thought that the cartels were like a foreign terrorist organization, insurgency in the country. Like, we should, militarily defend against it if we need to, because they've been attacking us with drugs and human trafficking, fentanyl, running kids across the border for sale, and other horrible things. I don't know, but this is what I've heard. So, like, yeah, and the war in Ukraine, technically we're not at war, but you could consider our country at war since we've been funding this war in Ukraine.
We're at war.
We have been at war since the Ukraine thing kicked off. And since we've been funding it. But like, how hard do you take it? Because the whole world's watching. Everything's being recorded. Whatever he does will be precedent for what comes next.
So if Joe Rogan had this clip from one of his last shows, and he was basically saying, there's a lot of people saying, just round them up, get them all out there, send them all to El Salvador, and it's wrong. Because what happens when the next president gets in? Well, Joe is wrong. Joe is right about the fact that we can't just round people up and send them all off without due process, right? But I think Joe doesn't understand, one, the due process for illegal immigrants is literally ICE checks your information and then you leave. You don't get a hearing. This is not normal. Not every illegal immigrant gets hearings. That's the due process. The due process is, are you a citizen? No. Oh, goodbye.
They like give them a chance to go to their house and collect their stuff, and then they're like,
not expedited removals.
okay.
So If you enter illegally or with forged documents, it's expedited removal. You don't get a hearing. If you're here legally and then violate the terms of your immigration, you can get a hearing, you can appeal. And then you've got, for the AEA, which is accusing you of actually being part of a criminal organization, a terrorist organization, the Supreme Court says you must have an actual hearing for that. So if you want to get an appeal, it has to be, you are actually arguing that your legal immigration status is being wrongfully terminated or something. But here's the problem with what Joe is saying. This idea of the next president is going to do it to you. They already did.
Yeah.
The Biden administration stripped J6s of their due process rights, imprisoning people. The judges were denying their access to evidence. They were charged on they were wrongly charged on false statutes. Let's just say this. Of the J6s who were charged for obstructing an official proceeding, which I believe was maybe 20% or so or less, that charge was wrong. The Supreme Court said you can't charge them with that. That's a violation of their due process. They were denied access to the surveillance footage from the Capitol. 41,000 hours was withheld for years with these people sitting in solitary confinement. That means every single J6er had their due process rights violated because they're supposed to have constitutionally access to the evidence. And it was denied to them until the Republicans got in and gave the tapes to Tucker Carlson. Then they were able to give the evidence. So the Biden administration has, the Democrats can and will violate your rights the moment they get power. So the question is, what is the Trump administration going to do right now? And it looks like they're going after leakers, and I'm hoping Cash and Dan actually do their jobs. Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.